Okay. How do dads deal? How does a real dad experience and handle being a special needs father? I'm Shantae, and this is Parenting Special Needs Live. And I know in my own life, I tend to think about, you know, from a mom's perspective, how I'm dealing, how I'm feeling. But how do dads feel? Do they have the same feelings? Do they feel overwhelmed? Do they feel isolated? Are they experiencing feelings like we do, but moms talk about it more than dads do? We thought that it would be interesting to ask a dad who is currently living this, and I'm just meeting him, but I heard he has a very positive attitude. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. He's brave enough to share with us. So please welcome Dr. Jim Rammuno. I hope I got it right.
Perfect.
So, Jim, I wanted to see if you would just say, a little bit of briefly tell us about yourself, tell us about your family, how your child, how many children you have, and your child or children that what their special needs is. So, if you could start that way with a brief introduction, that would be great.
Okay. Okay. So yes, my name's Jim Rammuno. Again, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. My wife's name is Eileen. We've been married for it'll be 15 years here in September, and we have two children. Our special needs child is Angeline. She is 12 years old. She'll be 13 in October, and I have an 11-year-old son. He's 20 months behind her, Anthony. So he'll be turning 11 here next month. So I'm a dentist, is my profession. So I've went to Ohio State for dental school and University of Pittsburgh for college, and I practice in Austintown, Ohio, right outside of Youngstown. So that's a small little brief. And you wanted to know about my daughter. Okay. So Angeline is 12 years old. She'll be 13 in October. She was diagnosed with Kleefstra syndrome. If you haven't heard of it, I wouldn't be surprised, because Angeline was the first one at Akron Children's Hospital in Akron to ever be diagnosed with that syndrome. What it is a chromosome 9 deletion. She was diagnosed with that, I think it was, by the time we figured out, I want to say she was around 2 years old. I don't have the exact timeline in my head. Everything's kind of a blur back then. When all that was going on, trying to figure out why she's behind and delayed or whatever. But she was between 2 and 3 years old, somewhere in there, when we finally got the genetic testing to see what exactly it was that was causing her delays. They couldn't tell us too much about it, because they didn't know a lot about it. They only had one kid that was there, besides some articles and some things they've read. They really didn't know what to tell us, what to expect, what to encounter. Basically, the way they put it is she'll write her own book, basically, because we don't have any path to follow. But that's where we've been since we were 2 or 3 years old.
So how did you handle the diagnosis and the feelings that came with that? I mean, on one note, I want to just point out, like, whoever said that to you, like she's going to write her own book, that kind of was almost freeing, I would think. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking it's kind of freeing, because you just kind of, hey, she's going to show you the way, where a lot of the rest of us are looking for the path, like.
Right.
And we
Right.
struggle so much with that, so that would kind of be like a little bit freeing, like, hey, I can just love, which it takes those on the other side a longer time to get there.
It was. I could totally recall the reaction. It was, because we were by ourselves up to Akron. They'd already done the testing. We went up there to talk to them, basically, without her. And I remember riding home, and it actually was sort of, believe it or not, some sort of sense of relief, just knowing what it was, knowing she had something, knowing we as parents didn't do anything wrong to cause that, or it wasn't something that happened. And I remember that more than anything, that it was a sense of relief. And plus that, knowing doesn't matter what it is. We're just going to do whatever we have to for her to give her the best opportunity to do the best she can in life. And that was, that's a good way to describe it. It was somewhat freeing just knowing, you know,
Yeah.
so,
That
and,
was
and
because that's
that
not
helped
always
out.
how other people get the diagnosis or what the doctors say. So that's why I pointed that out. But so,
Right.
um, how do you balance the responsibility of life and the extra responsibilities? Especially now, I mean, I know your daughter's still in school, so
Hmm. Hmm.
homeschooling, and how do you as a family, or how do you handle it? And then maybe how you handle it as a family with you and your wife handling the different responsibilities.
Well, I mean, I guess one thing I'll say is my profession allows me some flexibility, which makes it a lot easier. You know, I'm off on Thursdays, so I'm able to do this interview today. I'm
Thank you.
available. You know, I could, so, a lot of things that we schedule and things, you know, her therapies or things she goes to or whatnot, you know, we kind of handle that together to some degree to make sure that I mean, don't get me wrong, with me working and my wife being at home, she does do the legwork, but, you know, we're able to, you know, like on Thursdays, if she has to go to therapy or whatnot, if I have to go, I'm able to go, or if she needs to be somewhere else, you know, or anything like that, we're able to balance that a little bit. Or in the evening, if she has something she's going to, uh, you know, I could cut out early if I have to, or drop my son off with me so they could go. You know, so we're very, very fortunate for in our situation of the flexibility that we have to be able to get her to where she needs to be. So.
And so you do take her to therapy, so you're involved and you help out and all of that. So that's
I
great.
am involved. Our, you know, like, we've had many therapists over the years, but I call her our main one that we met when she was 2 or 3 years old. And I recall going often early on to those, especially the first few, meeting this woman, you know, and getting to see how she's going to do things and whatnot. I was very involved with all of that. Now, as the years have gone on, and our daughter has gotten more in cruise control with those types of things, I've had to go to less, because we know what we're doing now. We know what it is. But during those complicated days back when it first started, you know, I typically went to every doctor's appointment, every therapy session that I could make, especially the initial ones and things, to make sure we're all on the same page. And me and my wife do that. We communicate together. We're always on the same page with everything.
Oh,
So
that's huge right there, right? I mean,
yeah,
communication, and because that's sometimes where the downfall is. Um,
right.
so how? So I want to ask this, just because it popped into my head, but you know,
Hmm.
you have a son that's 20 months younger. Um,
Yes.
okay, so how do you set the same expectations for both of them? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I honestly, we don't treat them too much differently as far as parenting goes. I mean, they have to follow the same set of, you know, rules, manners, respect, whatever it is, you know, from both of them. So we try to, you know, the thing is, we try to always make, we don't want to make the world adapt to Angeline. We wanted to make Angeline adapt to the world. So that was a kind of always our philosophy from the beginning. So we kind of set the same expectations for both. I
No,
mean, can
that's great.
does that, are they always met because of what she has? No, but the expectations are the same.
No, I think that's great. So, with dealing with and what kind of issues does Angeline have? I'm just curious too. I mean, does she walks? Is she ambulatory? I don't since that
Okay,
is
so she is highly functional. She has speech problems. You know, she not always easy. She talks. She's definitely verbal. There's not a word in the vocabulary that she can't say. But when speaking, she speaks very fast, and a lot of the words get broken down and sometimes can be difficult to understand. She has a lot of sensory issues that go along with things, you know.
okay.
She's, always has some kind of fidget or habit or something that changes on a sometimes a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, depending on what that we're always like, oh, where did this come from? So she has that stuff going on. But otherwise, I mean, we've been fortunate that the one thing Kleefstra syndrome could have with it, it could have some medical problems. You could have respiratory, you could have kidney problems, you could have neurologic things. She is the nature of the deletion must not be that wide because she has not had, fortunate for us, no medical issues that we've had to deal with. But really a lot of the things that come with autism and other things, she pretty much, that's kind of what you see, the sensory, the fine motor skills are and dyspraxia is a very strong component of what she where she's limited. But walking, talking, she does it. She does it. It's just everything's a lot harder for her.
Right,
So.
got you. Nope, understand completely. And I'm just gonna share too. I always feel like that with my daughter doing those different things. I call it like the whack-a-mole game. You never know. You just get one pop down, and then something else pops up.
Yep.
It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, I
Yep.
thought we had that handled. Now we got this. Now,
That's a good way to describe it. It's a constant thing we deal with.
it's a
Yeah, and you,
surprise.
as you
It's a
know.
game. So yeah, I know.
Yep, it's a game.
Yeah. So, anyway, so do you ever get discouraged?
Oh, certainly. Certainly there's a lot of things that like if you know she's very scheduled, very scheduled, and as you know, life's not. So once I mean, even this morning we threw something off for her, and he's kind of getting in a mood, and things like that. And since life always is constantly throwing curveballs at you, and it's really hard to maintain a schedule, that gets very frustrating. When she kind of gets in her moods, or when she was younger, they were meltdowns. As she's gotten older, they've been more moods, than anything. But that gets discouraging. Some of the habits get discouraging, sometimes, like picking at fingers or picking at hair, or like other things that you just don't want to see, that you don't want to see a typical child do either, in seeing her do them, it gets discouraging, and trying to find a way to stop it, squash it, like you said, get it,
Whack-a-mole game. Knock it down. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the whack-a-mole game. It gets frustrating. So yeah, we certainly have moments of where we get very discouraged.
And what about, I know I'm going a little bit serious here, but I know I've heard other
Yeah.
parents say it. I mean, I know moms talk about it, but dads, that's what I want, what
Sure.
about life in the future? I know that sometimes my husband will say little things. I'm throwing him under a bus a little bit now, but like he'll say little
Sure.
things like, because our life is not gonna, we're older, she's 24.
Okay.
And when you get to a certain age where the kids are going to be supposedly out of the house, and now she's
Hmm.
not out of the house, and our life is not, I mean, so what about those things? Do you just like, is that something you just put away, or you're not ready? How do you handle that, or do you think about that, or?
Oh, I mean, it's impossible not to think about, I mean, you see where she's at now compared to her typical kids her age, and it's not where they are at. Yeah, I think you remain hopeful, that you could
Right?
do,
Nope.
that you could have some independence and do things like that. But I think you also got to remain a little realistic too. That if those goals aren't met, what are you what are you going to do? But certainly it's always in the back of your head. I guess that's when you're at this fight through the teenage years and everything, that's where you're always trying to get them to that, so where they could be a little bit independent, and maybe do some things on their own. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said we didn't think about it. But do we put it on? I wouldn't say I consume myself with it. You're right, because day to day you'd go crazy if you did. So when you say, do you put it on the back burner? Maybe a little bit to some degree, but it's in the back of your head.
All right, so I want to go back a second too and ask you, because like I asked if you get discouraged, but like how do you help yourself out of that, or what do you do to help you, or how do you handle things, let off steam, or get support when you need it, because I know sometimes it's difficult
Well, I
for
mean,
men.
me and my wife just talking it out together helps a lot.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
that's great that you have a
support.
great relationship with your wife.
Yeah, I mean, supporting each other when that happens. Her. When there, I think there's times where um, she's more discouraged than me, or I'm more discouraged than her. It seems like the one could help balance the other out when it gets to that point. And and luckily, luckily the way our family structure runs too is we try to stay busy. We go to a lot of places. We even take her a lot of places. We make her go. Whatever, we make her fight through it. We make her get it. And it kind of sometimes that's our little getaway and from normal life, and helps us keep our sanity. So.
So is there a support group or anything like that you belong to, or anything like, is there, I don't know, anything that you
No,
get
I wouldn't
help
say an
from?
actual. No, there's no support groups or anything that we actually belong to. But I would say our friends and people we've met that go through the same things as us are our support group. Talking
Yeah.
to them or calling them when we need help, or asking them what they did or how they handled it, or those kind of things. And of course, now that we're 12 years old, we've met a ton of people along this journey here. So we know a lot of people that are going through similar situations as us, and they're the ones who've been anchors when you need help, when you're
So
not sure where to turn.
and that's you've met those in your neighborhood or in the school setting, and that, or
through
therapy and
through
things like that.
through schools, yeah,
Made
through
your
all
own
those
support
things.
network. No, that's huge. I
Yes,
think that's kind of what you have to do.
yes,
So at least
yes.
now, do you ever get, so you go and do things, so you're not always just in special needs mode too, right? You're kind of like,
No, we're no, no, we're no. Like I said, I mean, I know sometimes, and to a fault, it's probably caused us some insanity. Like we've made her go on an airplane at a very early age. We It was one of the most nerve-wracking things. Like you could, like, going through security, meltdowns. It was actually a nightmare, like, very early on. But because she's in her situation, which everybody's is different, she's highly visual.
mhm.
So the more you go to an airport, or the more you do the same type of thing, the more she's comfortable. So going through all those rough patches when we were younger has
Yeah.
brought us to now where it's a lot easier to do those types of things. And it's a little more, we're not as nerve wracking if we're going to go to Disney World, or if we're going to, go
Right.
somewhere out of town and bring her. It's not as bad, as it used to be. It's a lot better. And those things are our getaway. Like we need those, to forget about everything else, and she's good when she's there because she's been there before. I mean, Disney World's one of our go-tos. We brought her there. She goes almost every year. So it's she's gone, and it was terrible. The first few times we went, terrible. We had a lot of meltdowns, a lot of problems, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. We kept fighting through it and kept going. And then here we are, now it's pretty, now she's, good, because it's a very familiar place. Everything's familiar, and everything's fairly, routine as could be. You can make it. And that's kind of stuff is our sanity.
Yeah, no, that's so great. That's awesome. So, anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to share about?
Um, No, not. I mean, no, not really. I mean, I don't. I think every child is. I would love to sit here and give advice, but I'm not qualified to do that. I know every child is different, and every circumstance is different. But I think, if you could get on the same page with your significant other or spouse, if you could, like you said, have people to talk to, make sure you meet people that, to talk to help you out and help you through those things, and still try to, don't put life on the back burner for your own sanity. You got to try to keep doing stuff and keep going, and get through it. And I think in my very non-expertise opinion, that has been what's helped us. And I think that's what, um, you know, keeps you going and keeps your sanity. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think you and your wife have a pretty great relationship. That sounds awesome. So, how do you guys communicate? Do you set a time and just like, hey, we're going to talk about this, or is it just as life's go
No,
as
it's usually just after the incident happens, or after something happens. If she's, downstairs or upstairs, and we're alone and not around. We don't like, we don't talk about that stuff around her unless she's being reprimanded or punished for something she did and needs to know what she did wrong or whatever. We'll have our talks, but mostly, as long as we don't try to talk about it around them, just whenever a private moment after it happened, whenever we have time where they're not around to discuss it. So that's when we'll do it.
I think you have a really great upbeat attitude. That's awesome. And that's just, maybe that's just your personality, but that's awesome. It seems,
It's gotten, you've learned to adapt. I've gotten calmer with it over the years. There were definitely a lot of challenges early on, definitely. And you just hit a point where you're like, this is what it is. I'm gonna have to keep living regardless. You can't sit there and pout about it or whatever and keep going. But there were definitely moments, definitely moments, especially ages 0 through 7, 0 through 8, and they continue on, that are very, very challenging. And you don't see the smile on my face then. Don't let that fool you. It's not all roses, but just doing the best we can.
So would that be your words of encouragement? Or do you have words of encouragement for parents that are maybe at the, the 0 to 7 ages?
Yeah. My words of encouragement is just keep at it day by day. I know there's going to be frustrations, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be discouragement, there's going to be all that. But if you keep fighting, keep going forward, it will get better. It will get better. It does. It's really hard because you're new to it and you don't know what to do, and you don't know, you feel like you're the only one going through it. But if you just keep doing it, keep getting the kids the help they need, keep going to therapy, get them anything you could get for them. The more you give them, the better, and the better it'll turn out in the end, and the better they will be, and the better you will be, and the more sane you will be. It will get better.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for sharing with us. This was awesome. It was wonderful meeting you, and I love
You too.
Your personality is great. And also, I just want to share for everyone, watching this, we didn't plan our red. I chose red, and he came in red. We both have a white background, so hey, it was meant to be today. But it was wonderful meeting you. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you too. Thank you for having me.
And wish you a very happy Father's Day. I know that's coming up, and thank you for sharing. And sharing an upbeat, positive attitude for parents and for fathers. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us today on Parenting Special Needs Live. And in case no one's told you today, you're doing a great job. Be good to you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.